We're going to continue in Lección 6, and we're going to talk about the preterite tense of regular verbs. So, in order to talk about events that occurred in the past, Spanish has two options for tenses that are considered simple. We have the preterite and the imperfect. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to work with the preterite tense, which is used to express an action or a state that has been completed in the past. So when I'm looking at regular AR, ER, and IR verbs, I'm simply going to take off the ending and I'm going to add the E with the accent, haste o amos, hastéis, harán, to the AR verbs. And then the ER verbs, you'll notice, match the IR verbs for the different conjugations of those tenses. So you don't have to learn three separate endings. It's really AR verbs, then ER/IR verbs. The yo and usted, el, ella forms of all three conjugations have written accents on the last syllable to show that that last syllable is what is stressed. As the chart showed us, the endings for regular, ER, and IR are the same, like we talked about. So if I'm using the preterite tense of regular verbs, ¿qué compraste? What did you buy? Compré estos aretes. And then again, I bought these aretes. So occurred in the past. If we want to take a special notice of the nosotros form, we're going to notice that regular AR and IR verbs in the preterite are identical to the present tense form. This is why it's so important when we're translating. We're taking the context of the sentences around something to understand what we're forming. So if I see compramos, that could be present tense or that could be preterite tense. It's going to matter if I'm looking at the sentences around it to know if it occurred in the past. AR and ER verbs that have a stem change in the present tense are regular in the preterite. So this means that they're not going to have that stem change occur in the preterite. So for instance, when I have E go to IE, O go to UE, or U to UE, that doesn't happen in the preterite tense. So that's one more simplification that you have in preterite that we do not have in present. IR verbs that have a stem change in the present tense also have a stem change in the preterite. So this is probably one of the most difficult things to remember. So putting this on a Post-it and having it visible to you while you work this unit is a great idea. Verbs that end in CAR, GAR, and ZAR have a spelling change to the first person singular or yo form in the preterite. So buscar is going to go to busqué. Llegar is going to go to llegué. And then same thing with empezar, yo empecé. Except for the yo form, all of the other forms of those verbs are regular. So you're only going to see that irregularity with the yo form. There are three other verbs that have some spelling changes in the preterite. So this is creer, leer, and oír, which would be the accent in the yo, the tú, nosotros, nosotras, and vosotros, vosotras form. And in addition to that, changes to the Y in the usted, el, ella, ustedes, ellos, ellas form. These would probably be good to just put on a note card to remember these, because it's going to be a muscle memory where you're going to conjugate these verbs so often in Vista that you'll kind of begin to find a rhythm with them. But until that point, it's good to have flashcards to use with these. Ver is regular in the preterite, but none of its forms have the accent mark. So this is a place we see a lot of mistakes in Portales because you put an accent somewhere it shouldn't have been. And it's not always clear what happened when you get things wrong, but you can definitely flag it for me. But just be on the lookout for accents with the verb ver. Acabar de, when I add an infinitive behind it, is used to say something has just occurred. Now, this is kind of a euphemism, not a direct translation. So what we have to do is take note that acabar is in present tense in the construction, which seems counterintuitive to this being in the past. So this is a convention that, again, goes on the note card for you to be able to utilize.